Hey everyone, how are you? Welcome, Cindy Strawbridge here. We are excited to be back for another episode of Live from the Chef's Apprentice with our two phenomenal chefs, Chef Tom and Chef Steve. So we're excited about today's episode. As you know, HAC is a college that celebrates, welcomes, and is proud to celebrate inclusivity from every angle. So November is Native American Heritage Month. And so the meals that you will see demonstrated today will be given honor to that culture. So we're excited for what the chefs have up their sleeve. So I will now turn it over to Chef Tom and Chef Steve.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out and visiting us here live with the Chef's Apprentice. Hi, Chef Steve. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Chef Tom.
So before we get into our show, I want to thank the Chef's Apprentice staff because we can't be here without them. So it's Debbie Pritchard, Amanda Gutshaw, Nana Carlson, sorry, Ricardo Davis III, and Sade. So it's a group of students and some of our staff, but they're working behind the scenes, getting everything done that we would normally be trying to do. So thank you guys. So it was a little pressure-packed day, but that's what we live for.
Absolutely.
That's exactly right. That's how we roll. So we are going to talk Native American recipes and Native American food today. If you guys can just scan in on our display ingredient station. Okay.
I'm seeing cream of wheat and I'm like, where they
Cream
going?
of wheat. I know. Well, some of it's a mixture of Chef Tom and a mixture of Native American. So, but we have a lot of different types of squash. We have acorn squash. We have, this is called carnival squash, similar to an acorn squash, just a different type of skin. Summer squash or zucchini. We have sweet potatoes. We have a rutabaga. We have some flat leaf parsley, carrots, radishes, mint, honey, cornmeal, hominy, which is going to be in our first kidney beans, sun-dried tomatoes, jerky, and chopped nuts. And these are all different things that we're going to be using today. So the first, we're actually going to do, Chef Steve and I kind of liked what we did for September, where we did sort of different courses for the cuisine. So we're kind of going to do the same thing today. So we're going to start off with a soup, and this is actually the item that takes the longest to make. So we're going to get it started, take it on the back burner, let it finish up by the time we come around to the entree at the end. So this is called a Mohawk Indian corn soup. So you could actually put corn in it. It actually doesn't have any corn in it, but it does have hominy. So to get started, what I did was I took a pork loin fillet. We're going to put a little bit of oil. My pan is hot. I'm going to put a little bit of oil in. And I took a pork loin fillet, and you'll see these in the grocery store, and they're actually called pork loin fillets. And it's part of a pork loin, not the whole pork loin. And I diced it up into like 3/4 inch cubes, sort of like stew size. So we're going to put that in there and get that browning. There you go, Chef.
Thank you.
Now you could use other cuts of meat. This is nice and lean. We're going to get this started and just get it start to brown a little bit. Now, some of the other ingredients that we have here, if we could take a look at this, I don't know if that's possible. Okay. We have diced rutabaga. So a rutabaga is really like a yellow turnip, but when you work with it, it has a very waxy coating to it. Okay, if I let you feel that, Chef Steve.
Very, very waxy.
Yeah, so you need to peel that off. All right, and that's there to help preserve it, but it's really also called a yellow turnip. We have some garden carrots, some celery, and then we have hominy. So I'm not sure if everybody in the group knows what hominy is, but hominy looks like this very large white corn. We can get a close-up of that. And that's what it looks like. So it's kind of a very large kernel, and it's grown on a corn ear, but it's called hominy. You know what they make hominy? You know what they make hominy from?
I do not.
Grits.
Okay,
So this is how they make hominy. It's called hominy grits. But that's what grits comes from.
okay.
Okay, so this is actually what it smells like. And if you smell it, Chef, it kind of has a smell
It does.
like grits.
Yep.
All right. So that's going to be one of the starches in our, and also we have kidney beans. So the Native Americans are very big on beans, squash, and corn. So the only thing we don't have in this is squash, but we're going to have another dish that's going to have all that. So Chef Steve has this starting to roll. All right, so we're going to add some carrots and some celery. And then we're going to add some turnips. I'm sorry, rutabagas, yellow
Rutabaga.
turnips. All right, that's probably enough. And these two items, the hominy and the beans, because they came out of a can, they're already cooked. So I want to add them towards the end, once I know my vegetables are where they need to be. All right. So Chef Steve has that working. And simple seasoning, when we're all done, we're just going to do some salt and pepper. You could go any direction if you want with this. If you want to do herbs, you want to do garlic, it's up to you. Like leaf thyme would probably be good. So our stock, and this is kind of an old food service trick. Our stock is an equal combination of chicken stock and beef stock. If you don't have pork stock, this is kind of an old trick. You mix equal parts of beef stock and chicken stock to give you what is something similar to what a pork stock would taste like. So we're going to pour that in there. All right.
All right.
And Chef Steve's going to bring that up to a boil. And then we're going to move it on the back burner, put our ingredients back there. We're going to put a lid on it and almost kind of like pressure cooker. Okay.
Chef Tom, there's a question. Is leaf thyme the same as thyme?
Yes.
Thyme? Okay.
Yes, leaf thyme is the same as thyme. So leaf thyme is the whole mini leaf, and then ground thyme is the ground version of it. But yes, so that the little tiny flecks that you see, and it would be a good herb for this soup. I use leaf thyme in a lot of soups. It adds just an interesting flavor, and it's easy to digest. People use rosemary and things. I like the flavor of rosemary, but if you're going to do it, you need to chop it really small, because using it whole, it's almost like a pine needle. Where leaf thyme is very digestible. All right, Chef, we're going to bring that to a boil. We're going to push that to the back.
Chef Tom, another question for you. How do you know how much broth to put in?
So I needed to have enough to cover all the ingredients. So that was my trick. So this recipe is a recipe I got off the internet. It's not one that I created, and they were pretty spot on. It called for 6 cups of broth. I think I did 7, and you saw how it covered all the ingredients. So we're going to put a lid on it. Putting a lid on it helps decrease the cooking time. And it also creates a little bit of a pressure cooker type situation where we're keeping all the steam in and we're not reducing it. If you don't have a lid on something like that and you reduce it, what happens is your liquid starts to, you go down to half, and you've got a lot of goodies in there. I like hearty soups, but I want to have some broth too. So I think that's in this situation for all these types, because these are all roots vegetables. The rutabagas they're going to take a little while to cook. So is the celery and the carrots. So I think we're spot on. You know, the interesting thing, Chef, in that recipe, there was no onions.
No, there was not.
Yes. So, and this was supposed to be an authentic Mohawk Indian recipe, which I think was awesome. So they kind of used whatever they had.
Right.
So if you can hook up the mixer, Chef.
Yes, I can.
Okay. So we're going to go a little backwards just because of our timeline. And Chef Steve is going to hook up a KitchenAid mixer here for us. And we're actually going to do an Native American cornmeal cookie. Again, that's a recipe that I found on the internet when I started to do a lot of research. Again, authentic, very old. And so I'm kind of excited to do this. So I want to give a shout out to Ricardo Davis III. He meased our recipe. That means he gathered all the ingredients and got everything organized for us. Ricardo's a graduate of the baking program. Want to set that in there? So, Chef, I'm going to read this to you.
Okay.
All right.
Gotta get the right bowl.
Well, it happens. And once we get the right bowl, we'll be in business. So that I'll go over the ingredients of this recipe so you kind of have an idea. So same as a lot of cookies, the difference is there's 3/4 flour and 1/4 cornmeal in your dry ingredients versus all flour. And that's why it's called a cornmeal cookie. And you can garnish it, and garnish it means the other ingredients you can add to the batter with dried cranberries, nuts, chocolate chips if you want to. You can make it however you would like to make it. So once we get our bowl up here, so I want to talk a little bit about Native American food and Native Americans. I do quite a bit of reading when we try to put a show like this together. Native Americans, one of the big things, they were master gardeners. They were masters at living off the land. We good? So they developed this gardening system of gardening called the Three Sisters Garden. And one of our next dishes that we do, a Three Sisters Succotash, is the way corn was planted, and then beans, like typically like green beans and squash, were planted around the base. And as the corn grew up tall, the beans would climb the corn stalks, and then the squash leaves would protect the root system of the beans and the corn, and it became this perfect marriage. And that was one of the things that they did. And they all said that they helped each other become the healthy plants that they were, and that's why they called them the Three Sisters. All right, are we good?
I think we're good. Using the paddle?
Yep, we're using the paddle.
All right.
Yep. Okay, so Chef, it says here, cream together salt, sugar, and margarine.
Okay.
All right. So that's going to go in. There's our, so I'm going to put our salt in with our sugars, just so you know. So you're going to turn that on a little bit, and then you're going to add the sugar once it's. Got the right paddle. Now we know what the baking students go
It's
through.
okay.
It's all good. When they say, our stuff's never here. We'll see it.
Different attachment.
I think you do too.
Yep, I think this might be the one I gotta go with.
Sorry, folks. We kind of had a crazy little morning here this morning.
That looks more like it. There we go. That's more like it.
Okay. So we're getting our margarine mixed in. So we're going to slowly. I'm going to add my sugar to it and my salt. We're going to cream that together until it's consistent.
On a lot of the newer mixes stuff, they actually make these beaters now that have like an edge on it of like the paddle,
So it keeps
so that it keeps it scraping the bowl every time you go
Nice.
around. My wife has one.
nice. I was going to get you one of those for Christmas.
Where are you?
Now I don't have to.
There you go. I ruined the fun.
All right.
Chef Steve, is your wife a chef, or she's just
She
one
is
that loves
not.
kitchen?
So,
Okay.
so my wife just loves to bake.
Uh,
So, I got her a KitchenAid for Christmas, like 2 years ago, and we keep it on the counter, and she loves to bake all the time. We're getting ready to bake 15 dozen cookies for the holidays just because she likes to bake that much.
and
So,
Michael,
and we love to give them away.
apparently Michael knows that she's a good baker because he dropped
He
in the chat.
does.
She is a great baker, so it's clear he's had some of her goodies.
That is correct.
Yes, she does a nice job.
All right.
All right.
Just scraping down the side real
All
quick.
Want to put that on and put it on a little bit of a higher speed. All right. All right.
Step back just a moment.
All right. So we're gonna slowly add. I'm gonna turn that down.
Yep, sure.
Is there no handle on there?
There is not. That's why I have a towel. So
Okay.
it doesn't. I have the stir.
We're gonna add 2 eggs, 1 egg at a time. And so we're gonna add our liquid ingredients basically. So Chef, you want to mix that up a little bit?
Yep.
And then I'm gonna add another egg, the rest of the egg. And Chef, if you can, scrape that down
Yep. That's what I was getting ready to do.
so it gets all mixed in. Turn your mixer off. There we go.
Drop the bowl down.
Before we add our dry ingredients, want to make sure that this is mixed properly. Right.
Because what happens if you have any of the butter mixed in, it doesn't
gets
make
chunky.
Yep, it doesn't.
It's got to be well blended.
Now we're looking better.
Okay. All right, turn that up and on high a little bit there, Chef.
Mhm.
There we go. All right.
Much better.
So now I'm going to add my dry ingredients. I'm going to add it in actually 3 stages. What I took is I mixed the cornmeal and the flour and the baking soda together. So turn it up. All right, you want to mix that?
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting about this batter is once the batter's made, it's just like a chocolate chip recipe. Once the batter's made, it's the ingredients that you add to it that makes the cookie what it is. Currently in our restaurant, Diana, our baker, excuse me, has been putting out a cookie called the kitchen sink cookie. So if you ever come in and it's got pretzels, chocolate chips, and caramel bits in it, and it's becoming a fan favorite. It's really, really good. So it kind of has everything but the kitchen sink in it.
Yep.
That's how we got that.
Well, and she originally started with a pre-made mix, and then she just came up with her own.
Coming up
Yep,
with
came up with her own.
recipe. We have a lot of talent here. All right, Chef. Add just a little bit more of this. Mix it again.
Yep.
So this is kind of setting the stage. So once the batter is mixed, we're going to add our ingredients, and then we'll have cookie dough.
And the key is to not overmix.
Don't overmix it. Okay, turn that off.
Yep.
Now, once you get your dry ingredients incorporated, this is the last stage of the dry ingredients. Chef's going to mix that up. Once that we're satisfied with the mixture. Okay, now it's coming together to be like a scoopable dough.
Yep.
All right, you want to turn that off, Chef?
Yep.
So we're gonna add some chocolate chips to it. All right. Some pecans. And some chopped dried cherries. And these are all things, other than the chocolate chips, these are things that the Indians would have had. So, but this is kind of a twist on it. So you could use craisins or raisins if you wanted to. You wouldn't have to use, we had some dried cherries on hand, so we chopped them up,
I'm gonna check
Put
our
some of
soup, chef.
put some of those in here. And you know what? I think I'm just gonna add the rest of these chocolate chips just so they're good and hearty. All right, so now all I'm gonna do is turn this on enough just to fold these in. Once that's where I'm at, we're good. All right, so we're gonna drop that off of there. So there you go, is a cornmeal cookie batter. So I'm going to have Chef Steve scoop some of these, and the best way to scoop a cookie dough is with an ice cream scoop.
I just want to show you where from where we started to where we are now. Some of that liquid did evaporate as it came up to a boil. So as it cooks, some of your liquid does come out of it, but this is going to make it more like a stew. As you see, some of our veggies started to cook. They changed some colors. Just wanted to show you.
Yep, so it looks great.
Right.
So the key to knowing when this soup is done is we want the meat to be tender. That'll be the key. So I'm gonna put this back here. Chef Steve,
Yes.
or I can do it too. You want to do the succotash, you can.
Sure.
All right. Oh, we forgot the honey. So,
All right.
we have that.
Hope you have it.
Yep.
All right.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Just give me 1 second while we transition to our next recipe. All right. All right, like Chef Tom said, our next recipe we're going to work on is succotash. So succotash is a big variety of vegetables that a lot of the Native Americans would have used. As you see here, we got some corn again. So we're going to start getting our pan nice and hot. Throw our butter in here to heat up. Nowadays, very many people have used they use succotash in different ways. I know we've made succotash here in the restaurant before. It's a lot of it is just like I said, a different variety of vegetables. This one's going to be a Three Sisters one, just like what they would have lived off of on the land.
2 trays of these cookies. Add a scoop over there. Let's see.
All right, we'll get this nice and hot.
Parchment. Then bring them out front.
Let's start with our green beans. Get that all nice and going. And some of these dishes are dishes that, especially with the holiday coming up, would be a great addition to add for Thanksgiving dinner. Green beans was something they would have lived off the land as well. Nice and hearty.
How you doing?
Doing good.
So Ricardo's gonna finish our cookies for us.
Awesome. 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 So what I was telling them is that we've done succotash before in the restaurant.
Mhm.
And I said it's a lot of it is a wide variety of vegetables.
Yes, doesn't always have to be corn and lima beans. That's what a lot of people think it traditionally is.
Right.
you can do. And this is actually called Three Sisters Succotash. So it has beans, corn, and squash. And I have a couple twists in here for you, Chef.
Okay.
So that
All right.
you're not ready for yet.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
So as
I'm up
you-
for the challenge.
As you start making this, you're going to see what I'm adding to it.
All right.
Because
Sounds
it just makes sense.
Yep.
So once you get your beans, another thing that you can add to succotash is a protein, such as I think we did a Creole succotash
Yes.
last year
Yep.
where we added andouille sausage to it. You can add a little cream to it if you
Mhm.
want to.
Yep.
You could add vegetable stock to it if you want to. You check your beans, always look for stems.
We've also done crawfish.
Crawfish.
Yep, we
succotash,
have done crawfish as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm.
Now, can you add cucumber too? I mean, I know you guys said any vegetables, but could you do
I don't know. You
cucumber?
can cook cucumber.
Yeah.
I've cooked cucumber before. And it is a squash. It's just a member of the squash family. All right, so some of the zucchini,
Yep.
not all of it.
Probably good.
We're gonna get this going.
Mm-hmm.
And now you could use fresh corn if you had fresh corn. All right, so when corn's in season, this is a great dish. Chef Steve is checking his soup. Looks like he's gonna add the hominy and the beans, Chef.
Yep.
Okay. So while he's doing that, I'm gonna step in. So I'm gonna add a little bit of corn. So this is actually frozen corn. I'm not a fan of canned corn. I'd rather use frozen corn. And anytime you have a frozen vegetable, especially a small one like this, like corn or peas, these are basically, you could eat them. They're blanched. Like you could thaw corn out, put it on a salad or a salad bar. Same with peas. You could thaw it out, put it directly on a salad or a salad bar because they're so small, they're blanched. Larger vegetables, not the same story, but these small ones, it kind of works that way.
Something else I want to add back to the soup, with using canned beans, it's always good to rinse them.
Yep.
They have some kind of like
Bean slime.
yeah, I was gonna say
Always
slime.
got
That's the
beans.
easiest way I could.
So, because you remember, canned vegetables are cooked in the can.
Yeah.
Some of them are added partially cooked, and then they're brought to a temperature of 165 degrees while
Yep.
they're in the can. That's what preserves them. So they put off that purge.
Yep.
So,
Like one of the things like in the restaurant we do when we do baked beans, like we drain a can, and then we keep some of the liquid on the can,
hold on.
just
so,
to
so it's not as saucy.
right. And then we also add some different seasonings to it, just
Right.
to
So, Chef, these are my twists.
okay.
So, because I like some color, so I put some sun-dried tomatoes, because I'm thinking the Indians do a lot of sun-dried
Yep.
things. They were very big on jerky. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so venison jerky, buffalo jerky, that kind of stuff. So they learned how to preserve meat.
Yep, very much so.
So they also did sun drying. So my twist on this Native American succotash is to put some sun-dried tomatoes in our succotash. And you know what this is?
Jerky.
Jerky. So this is my protein. So I'm putting little bit of beef jerky in here. Okay, because it has a smoked
Mm-hmm.
kind of flavor. So that we're going to add that to our succotash to make it really, really authentic. Yeah, you can smell it already.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Smells delicious.
Sure does.
Something different.
Yes. So there's all kinds of textures, all kinds of protein. And you notice when we put this together, we did it in stages. I didn't throw everything in at one time because what takes longest to cook are the beans. Squash is probably next. The corn's probably already cooked. The sun-dried tomatoes you can eat absolutely as is. And then the jerky I want to add and try to extract the flavor. But I'm going to put a little bit of salt and pepper in it. I don't need a lot of salt. So a little more pepper. Oh, that smells good.
Right beside you. Chef.
So I'm gonna use this display dish. So this could be a side dish for a Native American meal. There we go. It's all very fresh and crisp.
All right, Chef, before we move on to our next one, I'm gonna bring up the soup. I'm just gonna show them everything we added to it. So we added our beans, we added our
Hominy.
hominy. Make
Yep.
sure I said it properly.
Yep.
Hominy.
Hominy. Yep.
Now, Chef Tom, question. You
Sure.
didn't taste the vegetables, so how did you know that they were cooked and ready to go?
I can tell by looking at them.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't want my squash overcooked. All right, and the beans, they're okay, but yeah, they're good. But that's a good question.
A lot of it you can tell by the sheen of
Yep.
the vegetables.
Yes. And if overcooking a vegetable takes away all the nutrients too. So you want to have a nutritious base. All right, I think this actually looks good.
I think so too.
So we're going
I
to,
think we're just about there to move
all
on.
we need is a nice ladle.
And I got them over here.
All right. Not only did he put out breakfast and lunch today, he also gathered everything for the cooking show. And so this is a very colorful type soup, very hearty.
And my guess would be the Native Americans always ate that very hearty stews.
I
all
would
the
think
time.
there was a lot of one
Yes.
pot meals.
Yep.
Yes. I don't think they had too many courses like we're doing. And I would think there were a lot one pot meals built to feed the family.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of what we have tonight. Just need to wipe that bowl.
Yep.
shut.
So I'm doing right here.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Ricardo has our cookies scooped out, so I'm gonna fire those in the oven.
All right.
Come out for a minute. I ask you to watch these. Can you do it? So, well, so before we go any farther, I want to just bring out a shout out to Ricardo Davis. Ricardo put together our cookie recipe today. Ricardo is a graduate of the baking program. He has a certificate, and he's one of our key employees here at the Chef's Apprentice.
Yes.
So, all right. So, can you watch those?
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All right. So I just wanted to ask. So one of the things that Ricardo did, and Chef Tom hinted on it, he used a ice cream scoop. It's the easiest way to portion your cookies out. They become all even, and they cook the same way in that even kind of time. And as they cook, they'll just kind of spread out just a little bit. What do we have up our sleeves next, Chef Tom?
Well, you're going to be surprised when I tell you this. So this is actually a little bit of a twist on Native American cuisine, but it's kind of a Chef Tom creation too. So the recipe that I had in the promo was a sumac fish. So when I started researching the recipe more after we had already sent the information out, it's actually more of a Mediterranean dish
Okay.
than it is a Native American dish. So I'm doing a twist on catfish. So I'm envisioning what it might have been like.
Okay.
So what I have here is some catfish fillets, and I actually created this recipe years and years and years ago when I worked for a management company. I worked in a hospital, and I had to come up with a competition recipe. And this was it was called a mindful recipe, which meant it was below 500 calories,
Okay.
all that kind of stuff. And the breading is quite an amazing story. I was actually looking under the cabinet, and I grabbed 3 ingredients and I started mixing them together. That's how I came up with the breading. There's no flour, there's no egg.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so this is actually oatmeal or quick oats. All right. So I would have to think the Native Americans
Yeah.
had something to do with oats.
Yes.
Cornmeal, we know they had a lot to do
Mhm.
with cornmeal. So we're going to mix that together. And then this is dry cream of wheat.
Okay.
So it's not been, there's no, right, just dry king of wheat. So chef, I'm gonna ask you to kind of
Yep.
mix that
Sure
together.
can.
All right, so it's even. And then what we're gonna do in our seasoning is a lemon pepper type seasoning. So we know that Native Americans were all across the country. They just weren't in our area. They were the Seminoles in Florida, the Creole. So they were everywhere,
Mhm.
Navajo. So I had to think they encountered lemons
Sure.
somewhere in
Yep,
their world,
sure.
right? Some type of citrus
Especially
fruit.
right by the water and all that.
Yes, exactly. So, and our breading is so simply done. So once you have that ready, chef,
Yes.
I'm going to get my pan hot
Okay.
and I'm going to add a little bit of oil. And we're going to take our catfish,
I think I know where this is going, Chad.
right? And this is just a catfish fillet, which I'm sure catfish, trout,
Mhm.
native fish
Yep.
to the United States. All right. And we're going to go right in here and you're just going to press that on there.
Mhm.
Okay. You don't add any liquid. You don't add any, and it just sticks because of the ingredients. It just kind of sticks. So while our pan's getting hot, just gotta make sure, yep, all the way around. Before our pan gets hot, and we're gonna add some oil. Not a lot, just enough to coat the bottom.
Chef Tom, so you don't necessarily need egg when coating?
You don't, and that's what kind of makes it a healthy
Mhm.
recipe because there's no flour. Egg is cholesterol and also has fat. The yolk has a lot of fat. So you're already sort of pan frying this. So you want to get that other one ready?
Yep, sure.
So when you pan fry, so we're actually going to pan fry our fish. So there's called skin side and bone side. I'm going to take this last piece and explain it to you so that you see it. So skin side obviously looks, I don't know if you guys can get a close up of that. Skin side, you can see where the skin would come off. The bone side is what you fillet off the bone. Okay. I don't know where we're at here. You got that? There we
There
go.
we go.
Okay, so that is bone side, that is skin side. Whenever you saute a piece of fish, bone side always goes down first. That's your presentation side.
Mhm.
Okay, so for the culinarians in the group, so I'm going to take my bone side, just going to recoat that again. I'm just going to sit that in there. And if it doesn't sizzle when you put it in,
And it's not hot enough.
it's not hot enough. Okay. It
And
shouldn't
question,
be.
there's nothing in the seasoning. There's
Nothing
like,
in this.
yeah, in the batter, there's nothing like season wise in there.
Well, the only
no-
thing that we added was some lemon pepper to
Lemon
it.
pepper.
Right, but
That's
that's
the
it.
only extent.
That was
Yep.
it. And if you're watching your salt, you can use salt-free lemon pepper.
Yep.
So
But
I
fish
actually
and
did
lemon.
this same technique at a dinner on Sunday night. Our ACF chapter helped out it's called the Leaf Project, and it's a thing up in Perry County that brings students in and gives them an internship at a farm to learn the workings of a farm. And you need sponsors to do that. So they had a kind of like a gala thing to raise money. And one of the things our American Culinary Federation chapter was involved with was somebody bought a dinner for $2,000. And a group of us chefs, myself, Chef John Reese, Anna Smith, who's a Hack graduate, we went in and did dinner at their house for 10 people. And mine was the entree. And I did the same recipe with Chilean sea bass. And they loved it. It's very simple. And it shows very, very well.
And you can do that with any fish,
You can
any
do it with
fish.
chicken. Actually, when I created this recipe, I did it with a turkey roulade, and I won the top prize in the country
Wow.
with the recipe. And because Sodexo, which was who I used to work for, they were very big into health conscious, and this was the whole competition among healthcare chefs, among hospital chefs. So because the catfish is a little thick, basically what we're going to do is brown it on both sides, and then we're going to finish it in the oven. How's our cookies looking, Ricardo? He says they're coming along. Okay. So we kind of had to do the soup, the side. Now we're doing the fish. And then we're going to when Ricardo has our cookies coming out. There we go. You see it coats up very nice. I don't know if you guys can get a shot of that. Maybe even a little closer. That's as good as it gets. Okay. But anyway, how's that? You see how it kind of coats it like it's sticking on there nice and easy. And there was no egg, no flour. It's exactly what it is. It's almost, it's like a crust. So,
And the thing, whenever you add the egg, you almost got to deep fry it then.
yeah.
Or you can
Well,
still
you could
pan fry
you
it
could
too.
pan fry it,
It just takes a little bit longer.
but see how nice and easy
Yep.
it displays itself. And it's all dry ingredient, dry cereals, really.
Yes.
If you think
Yep.
about it, this is nothing but dry cereals. So we're going to take this, because I think we're almost at the stage that we're going to finish it in the oven.
And the thing with fish is fish doesn't take very long. So especially with doing it like this with on the pan, I would say maybe 4-5 minutes. in the
This is
oven.
probably going to be about 7 or 8.
Is it?
because
Okay.
Catfish
Because of the
takes,
thickness.
catfish
Yep.
takes a little longer. So if you had to do this in stages, if you were doing a lot of it, what you would want to do is change your pan, because kind of your breading starts to burn and it'll stick to your fish. So if I had to do like 3 or 4 more orders of it, that's what I would do. All right, how's our cookies coming, Ricardo? They're almost done. Ricardo says they're almost done. But we have to trust Ricardo. He says it. So. All right, so those are our recipes for today. As we get them finished, we'll be able to display them. So Chef, we do have one more ingredient for the catfish, and that's,
Yes, we do.
so would you like to put that together?
Absolutely. I most
Okay.
certainly can.
Okay.
All right. So the last thing we have here is a gremolata. Chef, I don't know a whole lot of the origin of gremolatas. Do you have more?
It's an Italian
Is it
type
Italian?
thing.
Okay.
Yes,
All
a
right.
little bit Mediterranean.
So we got some walnuts here. They're just chopped walnuts. We got some parsley and some mint. And what you do is you mix them together. A little bit of garlic too.
Garlic. Yep.
Yep. And I just want to mix these together. It will come together and be a touch wet, and that's okay. It adds like a nice crunch with a little bit of moisture to it. And then we're also going to add
just a skits of oil.
skits of oil. All right.
There you go.
And as you see, it kind of comes together between the herbs and the walnuts. And this is what we call a gremolata.
So a couple things you can do to enhance the flavor of this. Obviously, we use fresh herbs, dry herbs, so it wouldn't be something. You could take your walnuts and toast them in the oven to bring out some of the oils in the walnut. That adds another flavor to it altogether. You could have sauteed your walnuts. You could have actually sauteed straight up, cooled them off, added your herbs. Mixed them that way.
Now, could that take in substitution of the oil that you added?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right, so I'm going to check on our baker back here. Oh, they're looking good, Ricardo. I think the top tray is done.
Any questions so far? Any questions in the chat or anything?
Put them down.
No questions in the chat.
Okay.
What's up top? That's the fish? Yeah. Okay, pull that down to the middle. That one needs a couple more minutes. See? Okay. All right.
How's our cookies coming along?
So our first tray of cookies is done, except we want to bring them up.
Yep.
So Ricardo is watching them with an eagle eye. So interestingly enough, this is always a lesson too. Just because you put all the cookies in at the same time
does not mean
does
they
not
get
mean they all get done at the same
Yep.
time. Even though we use the scoop, right, to try to have a consistent portion, sometimes one try might take a little bit
Yep.
longer. Ovens have hot spots.
Yep.
So even our convection oven has hot spots. So this is the finished product. So before we handle them, so we actually use parchment, and because we use a blower, this is one of our Chef Diana tricks. So around here, they're called doodads. It's not to be mixed up with the snack, but she'll, even when she trains the students, she'll say, you need a doodad in the corner over there. So that's one of the reasons we love Diana so much, is she kind of has her own baking language. So we've just adapted to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what it does though, is it helps the parchment from curling up with the fan blowing on it. And it can get into your cooking batter and kind of mess it up. So she's kind of, if you've ever been in a restaurant and have some of her cookies, trust me, she can't make them fast enough.
No.
So
And the good thing is she doesn't just use these for our cookies. She uses them for her pastries and all, and almost
all kinds of
anything
stuff.
that she puts in the oven. She puts this down because then they don't blow and fold over top of the product.
So these are just about done, but I don't want to take them off the rack just yet. Because I think they need a minute or two just to kind of cool before we shingle them. But that's what they look like. They smell delicious.
They do smell delicious. It's something like I was telling you about. I mentioned you guys earlier about. Is you see how some of these is kind of bled just a little bit? That might have been where some of the butter might not have been completely mixed.
Yeah, we were pushing things to be ready.
So just wanted to show you that this is kind of what we mean if you over mix or don't have all your ingredients mixed together properly. This is some of the outcomes that you might get on your cookies even when you're making them at home.
All right, beautiful. All right, I'm gonna pull this down. Okay, our fish is almost ready.
All right.
Chef, now this tray actually seemed like it came out just a little bit better.
Yep, absolutely.
So it was in another minute. So another trick for cookies too, and I'm not a pastry chef, but I've done a good bit of baking in my life, is I like to get a little bit of a brown ring on the end and have just a touch of blonde in the center. And because if you go too dark, then it becomes overcooked. Because as the cookie cools, it still continues to bake a little bit because it has a little bit of residual heat. So this is almost ready. Our doodad got interfered. So we're gonna pull this off. So we'll show you the finished product. I think our fish is just about ready to present. So
Sounds great.
all right.
Just let him sit here for a minute.
Push at it. Uh-huh. Yep. Ricardo, thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo.
You're welcome, guys. Thank you, everyone.
All right. So for our catfish presentation, I'm going to just use this nice fancy plate. I don't want to overcook my catfish. I don't want to undercook it either, but overcooked fish is dry. So we're going to just kind of present them here. And Chef, if you can do the
Yep, sure can.
remoulade.
I'd use a spoon if I had one, but I'm just gonna use my gloved hand instead.
Go right down the middle.
Yep.
Oh, that looks good.
Sure does.
That's a $50 dish in a white tablecloth restaurant. All right, and I cut some limes up to kind of garnish the plate a little bit because we have kind of a lemon thing going with the seasoning. Figured a squirt of lime juice was perfect. So there's our entree.
And now we went off a time. If you're not too comfortable with doing time, you could use a thermometer to temp your fish as well. And at that rate, you temp fish at 145 and above.
I think we could probably
I
snack
think
some
so.
cookies.
I think at least that first tray.
Yep.
Yep. Here, Chef, I got you.
Got it.
I'll hold it if you want to.
Right.
Scoop them on the tray.
All righty. So just so you know, We never made this recipe before
Mm-mm.
today. So we were hoping everything went well, but they smell delicious.
And you could even tell from the time that we pulled them out of the oven to now, they even cooked just a touch more,
Yeah, they're-
like Chef Tom was saying.
And they're setting up just
Yep.
beautifully.
We had like another minute or two to let them sit to cool off.
All we need is some cold milk,
Yep. They look just like a chocolate chip cookie.
right? But there's cornmeal in it.
Yep. All right, want some off another tray?
Oh, I think this is good. All right. Okay, there we go. And there's dessert.
Beautiful.
All right. Just back there. And there is a Native American based meal
Bunch of color.
in less than 50 minutes.
There you go.
So. Does anybody have any questions about the recipes we did today?
There's no questions. I asked in the chat. I don't see any questions.
Yes.
That's my that's my 5-year-old that is saying yes.
Hi. He wants cookies. If we had smell-o-vision, you should be here. I'm telling you. So thank you, everybody, for coming out, and we enjoyed our time spent with you, and we hope you got something out of Native American cuisine and some of the trends and how some of the reasons why we are here today and some of the food that we work with now all the time.
I just want to give a shout out to all the campus. Thank you for your pie orders. They're successful every year because of all you guys. We appreciate all the support each and every year we do them. And we love all the feedback that you give us as well.
And you have until 4 o'clock.
Yes. So I just wanted to give a shout out.
It's so you have an hour and a half. After that, because we Diana, our baker, and we have a baking intern starting on Monday. So it'll be an interesting couple of days, but we're excited. We've done it before. So
Real quick,
right.
little Lucas does have a question for you guys. Go ahead, Lucas. They're looking.
Cook any noodles?
pardon me?
Say that again. Go ahead. Say louder so they can hear you.
Do you cook any noodles?
Do we cook noodles? Yeah,
All the time.
all the time.
time.
We love to cook noodles.
Yes, we
I bet
do.
you like noodles, don't you? Yes, most kids do.
So
It's a staple.
everyone, thank you all so much for being here. There's a lot of thank you chefs in the chat. Kyle is requesting to save a cup of the soup and also the cookies. And Joanne, she's fairly new to us. She's been coming and visiting us. Thank you. Jessica Greek is saying thank you for the delicious recipe. So a lot of thank yous in the chat. We'll be back here in December. It is going to be the final show. We are going to do something fun for the holiday season. So we will see you guys back next month. Check your email for the time, location, which is it's all the same, but check it out to see what exactly the chefs will do in December. All right. Thank you for being here. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.
You bet.
Thank
Have
you
a
all.
great day.